Hey everyone, here we go with stage 4. What a stage. This, leading up to the day, I had butterflies in my stomach. I remember last year when I ran a WZRL team, what were we, the Wild Baboons. Anyways, we did this race and the climb was called the leg snapper. It was the worst thing I'd ever done. It like was imprinted in my brain. It's like 1 minute, 110 sprint up an incline, and typically it is a like a hill classification. But for this event, Flemme Rouge has decided it's a sprint. So, and it should be. It's a minute. It's not really a climb. So saying that, we have a different thing going on today where for whatever reason we're not in Watopia. I mean, there's only so many roads, and there's a couple of worlds. So Zwift has different worlds. So the world we're in is Watopia, but they've made other worlds, and this world they made for the 2018 UCI World Championships. So the same course that they did in the real world, like Peter Sagan and Julien Alaphilippe, all of these guys, professional cyclists. This is the course that they raced that year. And I forget who won, actually. I think it might have been Peter Sagan, but I could be wrong. I can't remember them all. So this is the course, or the map, I should say. It's basically, that's all it is that course from that year. But it does feature some challenging portions. Basically, where you see the Ambra Castle up in the north type east, all of that road up until the southern tip where you see KOM is a pretty gnarly climb, and then down you would have a descent on the other side. So depending on which direction you come up, there's a pretty savage climb. I'd actually argue the left side is a bit harder than the right, but everybody has their own things that they prefer when they climb. So today the course looks like this. We're doing 3 laps. Each of those laps will feature a leg snapper and another sprint, and then when we're done those 3 laps, we'll head into the hills and finish us top the summit. So we got the right side and we stop at the KOM. So it's a pretty good course. It could obviously be a lot worse. And that's going to be the weekend. There are some worse courses on the weekend. So we're going to join the action here. This is a brand new course. So the Pens started in a different place. We've been used to seeing the Fugo Flats, but now we're in Innisbrook. So they're all the same. There's just a stretch of road here, but these laps are pretty furious. So the first leg snapper is at 5K, and it's not a fun section. I didn't particularly enjoy it anyways. But the segment leading into it actually makes it a little bit worse. It's cobbled. So this first run, everybody's going to go their fastest of the 3 laps. The way that the point scoring works is your fastest through the segments, or FTS, is the one that scores you points. And then the other are opportunities to improve and also collect more points. But it's all about that first one because your fastest one is going to count the most. So here we are. We just started across like a stone surface, and then that's going to fade into some cobbles. And then once we hit the cobbles, it's game on. Everyone's starting to position themselves. They know what's coming. And to the left there, you just see the banner come in. So my idea here is I'm not very good at this, And once you get to the top, the descent is really sharp. So you have to be on the back of the pack. There can be no gap. So my idea is stay towards the front. First time, I kicked too hard at the bottom, actually. I should have saved the sprint to the top section. But I sprinted and sprinted and sprinted, and then sat down, then got up and sprinted. And then, again, I just kept surging as many times as I could. I knew that I'd be in the top 50 or 60, and that would be enough to get me over the first round. I was pretty sure 75 people would make it over the hill. And you can see I got over at 50th. So, kind of where I've been, 40th to 50th spot. Not a shock. But there's a little descent, and then we go right into another sprint. It's two really fast segments, and then a lull every lap. But having to go twice is a challenge because you don't have a lot of time to reload the magazine. And here we can see we're just coming down that descent, and it's going to be about a 300-meter sprint. Luckily, it's flat. So the first time through, I kick. I stay in the seated, and I decide a little bit through that I don't need to stand up and sprint, but I was prepared to. And then now that I'm through, I'm asking myself, is this pack going to stay away, or is the entire pack going to come back together? My idea was that it was going to come back together, but I was willing to bet there would be a split somewhere, and I was going to bank on myself being in the front pack. So here we are. Now that those two are done, we're starting the lap again. And again, my idea is just staying in the front half. I saw those two guys go off the front, and then another one of their teammates just here behind, wondering what team tactics are about to take place. But I'm pretty certain nobody's going anywhere until the third lap. That's when a breakaway might try. But I'm watching the chat, and people are asking if there's somebody off the front at some point. And I wasn't sure if there was, but I wasn't too concerned because I wanted to be in the pack. So here we are. Actually, I remember a W0 race. I tried to attack with a 1.1k to go or 1.6k to go, and I got caught just at the line. It was the first time I thought I was going to actually win. Anyways, should have known better. But here we go. We're through the banner and starting the next lap. So 5k from now, we'll hit the leg snapper again. Now, my heart rate came down pretty fast, but my rate of breathing did not. I was heavily breathing right here, and I'm just telling myself, stay in the mix, get in the front, and just stick with the power that the race is pushing forward, and don't be too shy, because in these sections you'll notice it's low anyways. Like, we're talking 200 to 230. There's a couple little surges because there's some bumps, but it's not crazy. So the cheat sheet actually today was really crucial. Not so much on these laps, because you just get in the rhythm and you know when it's coming. Like when you feel the cobbles, it's like, oh, okay, I gotta start mentally preparing. I've got about 10 seconds here. But when I got to the climb, I had broken the climb down bit by bit by bit. Like, I didn't want to not point out when there was respite, because this one was going to be 7.4k. It's significant in the grand scheme of things, but it's not the worst climb that we're going to that's our featured in the event. But I broke it down into 9 sections. And you'll know that yesterday's video with the volcano, it was only 3 sections. So this is 9. So 3 times the amount of sections for only double the amount of distance. And that's because there's some real savage pitches. I believe in this climb it tops out at 12-13%. I could be wrong. But so I was going through that, and there was 5 different plateau sections. And when I was doing the climb, I just kept saying to myself, make it to the next plateau, and then you'll get a little bit of respite, and then go to the next section. But we'll talk about that when we get there. So here we are. We're going through Innisbrook, and this is the second lap. Sorry, I wasn't really watching, but I'm pretty sure that this is coming up to the stone section, which would be the second marker for the leg snapper. Let me just look at 13.8. So yeah, we're about 700 meters away. So again, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, that first time I stood up way too early. I shouldn't have been climbing out of the saddle right away. I can allow, almost in the other sprints, don't think of it as a climb, but when I started thinking of it as a sprint, get at the front, but as the crowd is going past you, stay in that crowd and gauge where's the last person on this going to be, and then I'll stand up and push to that point. Sorry. So I noticed there was like a bus shelter on the right hand side, so I'm staying seated. I'm pushing some heavy watts, but this point I stood up, and you'll see I just got a little bit of a rhythm. Then I sat back down, and then I'm seeing, is there a break here? I'm looking, and I see this red and white rider, and I'm like, he's starting to fade. And then I push just through this. I'm burying myself because I got to get on the back. So we're descending down, and in my brain, if I don't get on the back of this pack, when it splits again at the sprint, I might be left out in the cold, and I don't want that. So I push a little hard here. There's a little riser on this descent. I use that as an opportunity just to do a 2 to 5 second sprint, maybe 10 pedal strokes actually, and it just pushes me over here a little bit and got me right back in the pack. But now is a sprint. I can see there's a rider off the front there as well. 2 of them it looks like. But I know the pack's going to catch them. So here's the sprint. Again, I'm staying seated. And then I stood up. Once you see me hit the 460s, I definitely stood up for a minute. Or a couple pedal strokes anyways. So I'm staying with the pack. I'm comfortable. I'm not going too crazy, but just continuing to push like threshold power and just secure my position in the pack. And again, my idea now is to, seeing how this pack is getting smaller, try to hang towards the back of it just a little bit so I can look back, change the camera angles. So I'm looking at the pack. I'm pretty much towards the back, but I can see the second pack there just behind us. So I'm asking myself, are the packs going to come back together? A lap 2, if they're coming back together. Lap 3 to get out to the hill. It is also going to go along this section. So my thinking is, if it can come back together now, and it came back together last lap, the next lap, the likelihood of it coming back together is high. And I banked on that a little bit when I got there. But right now I'm still trying to stay at the front. Just stay at the front. Actually, right now all I'm thinking is keep 3 wheels ahead of you and keep checking back to see if the pack comes together. So you can see I'm in second, so definitely not 3 wheels in front of me. And at this point I'm trying to lean back, and then somebody flies off the front. Now he disappears from our screen because you can only see a certain number of riders at one given time. I think it's 100. So if I looked back, there would be 100. So I can't see him. But I did see he flew off the front. And I don't see anybody trying to cover the attack. So I think this is where we start seeing people. Do we have riders off the front? Do we have riders off the front? I thought you could see them on the mini-map, but it looks like you can't, which is unfortunate, because that would be great if that feature was there. You'd always know when there's a flyer off the front. But anyways, we're on the third lap, and we're going to hit the leg snapper again at 22.6. So we're just trying to ride the pack, surfing the front third, front half-ish. And then again, just try to keep 3 wheels ahead of me so that I'm always in the draft. It's so strange though with these pack dynamics. It just pushes you to the side and you don't really get a chance to know, like here, I can't control that my rider was out of the draft there because it was just forcing me out to the left. So here we go. We got some chatter. I was actually noticing people messaging more today than usual. Last year I was a lot more active in the messages. What I would do is throw out the segments to the people around me off the cheat sheet. But this year I just decided I'd put it all online, and if people wanted to use it, they could, and if they didn't, that was their choice. But I was pretty good at putting a post in the Discord, which is kind of the central hub of communications of the whole tour. There's an app called Discord. I'm sure everyone's familiar with it. I'm late to the party, but it's kind of like Slack or Teams. Everything's organized in channels, and so staying on top of that, and then adding in there, letting everyone know Six Cycling exists and that it's been used to help them get through the tour, or it's been built, I should say. So here we are. We're still going through Innisbrook, getting ready to do the third leg snapper. Now, this time through the leg snapper, I definitely had a more focused strategy. I told myself, get to the front, stay seated as far as you can, hoping I would get to that bus stop and then explode out of the saddle. But don't go above an 8 out of 10. See if that keeps you in the pack, and if it doesn't, then go to 9 and then go to 10 at the very last 50 meters. And if that doesn't get you on, remember, the packs come back together. I saw here on this lap, the whole pack came back together. So if the whole pack is coming together, I'm not going to kill myself over the top. This race is determined on the climb. As long as you're in this pack or close enough to the front pack, like it might be a couple seconds, maybe is what I was thinking, but I was pretty confident by the time we got to the final climb, I would be in the front pack or in the front group. So here we go, number 3. I was dreading it. I was like, ugh, I really don't want to do this again. It's not my forte. 1 minute powers, again, is not my forte. 10, I'm pretty good. 20, that's where I'm good. 20 minutes to 30 minutes, that's what I've trained for most of my racing days. So usually if you can do a good 20 minutes, you're good everywhere. That's an attack, that's covering a break. Anyways, so here we are over the top. I can see the pack is breaking, but this time I'm staying off the power. You can see right there, I'm not even pushing out anything. And then I'm going to I'm going to push, I think, a little bit over this, surge over this, but not like I was before. Just a couple pedal strokes, and then looking ahead and saying, can I get to that pack before the sprint, or am I going to wait until after the sprint? And at this point, I'm like, I'll let the people around me do work. I mean, I'm working, don't get me wrong, because I want to contribute. But here, I'm like, I don't need to contribute. I'm already going the speed, to stay in the wheels, surge when I start drifting off the back. But otherwise, go to the line, stay seated, push the 300s. If you need to, stand up and push a couple pedal strokes. But here you can see I'm just turning the legs out, and the pack is ahead is getting away. But that's what's happened every single lap. This second group, again, just rejoined. So I'm not worried. The pack is starting to come together. And now in my brain, I'll get you to the section on the cheat sheet now that it's working. There's one little spike leading into the climb. You can see there in row 52, there's a super riser, 9% max. It's short, but it's punchy enough that people might try to do something. You never know. So I wanted to be at the front when that happens. So now I'm just, the two groups have come together. The lap is done. The third lap is done. So now I just want to surf wheels to the bottom of the climb. In theory today, I should be able to do very well. There should be no 40th place today. It's a climb. That's what I consider my strength. 20-minute power. This is about a 20 to 25-minute climb. So I was thinking I can pull back some time on not the front, guys. I'm not getting to the front. But if I could get a top 10, I'd be really happy. And to get a top 10 overall today, I knew I'd need to be top 20 in my race. And I had looked, as usual, at the earlier races to see what their finishing times were. So I had an idea in my head what I had to hit. And I knew at the bottom, I would gamble a little bit and see if the front pack was way too hot and if I could stay with them and for how long. And if I couldn't, I was okay going my own pace. Because this is such a long climb and because I had such a detailed breakdown, I was confident that I could stay within myself if I needed to, and I could go a little bit above if it meant I was staying with a pack. So here we go. Instead of going around the lap again, we're kind of going out. You can see that mountain in the distance, and then the Innisbrook. I don't know what these are. These buildings are cool looking anyways. So I'm asking myself, when should I switch into my small ring on my actual bike? So at this point, I'm big ring. I'm looking back. I usually look down beneath me and I count how many cogs are left, and I'm counting 3. So my idea is I'm going to punch up over this little spike, which is coming up right here at 29, all the way until we're in it right now. But spike's right there. There you go. So once we're through that, I'm still on my big ring, and I'm saying, okay, the climb starts proper 29.7, so 200 meters here. I'm going to stay in the big ring. I've got 3 different cogs left, and I'm going to see when I have to change down. The first segment or section is roughly 3.2 kilometers, so it's almost half. So the idea is, can I hang on for the first half? Can I stay with the front pack? And if I can, use the plateau, use the sections and the plateaus to kind of keep them within range, or as best I could. So here we go, we're starting. We're about to, we see the rider that was off the front there. We're starting to bring that back. Most likely wanted to get a head start. So I'm sitting in 20th, trying to see how big the pack is, how quickly are we dropping riders, and then I'm looking at my power, and it's 290. So I'm telling myself, okay, try to stay in around 290, and that'll keep you with this crew. And then spike whenever you need to, or when you start seeing breaks. And I started to see that split up front go. So these riders around me, I was like, okay, I gotta get away from them. And I knew there was this 10% coming. I had a little cheat sheet again. So whenever there's a red gradient, I try to push a little bit harder. You'll notice the gradients are yellow, orange, red. And so I always try on the hardest sections to push the most power, and then keep the rest of the sections as rhythmic and steady as I can. So at this point I'm feeling good. I'm in 7th, 8th, and I'm like, oh, okay, wow, this isn't too bad. 280, 275, and I'm staying with them. So, you know, do a little spin up here, get into the pack, and then actually for a split second I was like, maybe I should ride off the front. Maybe I should ride all these people off my wheel. Yeah. But then I came back to reality. Now, I did do that once before, but it was the last day of a 2-week stage race, and I felt like as the time went on, I got stronger, and people were around me were getting weaker. I don't know how it happened, but anyways, here we are in the red sections, and I'm just trying to stay with the pack, the front guys. Like, I can tell who is climbing here. I'm looking at the purple, the Brody guy. He looks like he's Irish. And here I switched to my small ring, and that was I lost, you could see there, a handful of meters, but there was at least these two guys that I could stick with, and I was still getting a draft. You can see there. But it was a surge I didn't want to have to do. So we started at 29.7, and we got till 32. So right here, this is the first plateau. So I use this opportunity to make sure that I'm up with the very front people. Like, I wanted to be right at the front. I was feeling good up until this point, or at least good enough, but I let up the power a little bit there, and I started changing the angles. So I stopped mucking around, and I just put it in the one view for now and tried to stick with these wheels. There's a gap opening up there, but I'm hoping that the people behind me are going to try to chase it down, and then I can latch onto their wheels. So I'm seeing these two riders, and I'm like, oh, I can use these. And the one with the all fat here, I was thinking, okay, maybe this is more my pace to get to the top, because I'm looking at, I've still got till 36k, if not longer. I think actually it's 37.2. So there's still like 4.2, 4.4k left. Oh, we can see there, 4.6. Anyways, so I want to stick now with the pink elf lady, or man, I don't know, whoever it is, and this gentleman here with the afro. I'm like, stay with them. They seem to be more your pace, and now just catch your rhythm to the top. If anyone comes around you, let them do some work for you. Because as long as we're doing 16 kilometers per hour, we're getting an advantage. So I know now that the front is gone. I see the 6 seconds. We're on a plateau here, I believe. No, the next plateau is at 34. So we're just coming up to the plateau. I'm just trying to keep in the wheels. This guy came around, so I tried to latch onto him, and I saw that we were dropping another rider. That must have been the riders that went up the road. But that guy's starting to gap me. About a second now. And I can see his wattage is 4.4. And then it drops down, so I'm trying to use that opportunity to get mine back up. And I see that the 10% pitch in red. I try to dig, and then I push here. And I'm just trying to catch back on. Just to somebody. Anybody is better than nobody. We're doing 13K an hour, so there's no draft here. But I know there's a couple plateaus, there's a couple more sections, and we'll be going the right speeds. So I'm just trying to close this down, staying really focused. In my mind, I want to quit. I've told myself, you can't quit. You want to. And I just said, I've wanted to quit 1,000 times before. And I've never given in. I've stopped running in a race when I was ahead and used like a walk to catch a break. But when I'm actually in a pack with people around me, for some reason I can always find something in me to stay with them or to keep it up. Like here, my power is fading, but I'm not the only one, and I know that. And I'm looking at 13th, and I'm thinking that's right within my expectations for the day. So now I'm just trying to catch on over this plateau section here. Goes to right now, and then we start back up. But you saw I closed quite the gap there. And now I'm kind of invigorated, and I know that we're coming into a sharp pitch. So I'm trying to use that to my advantage to catch back onto these guys. So I close to this gentleman, and somebody else comes past, so I can see that they're fading. I try to stay with the other person, but we had to split. They went on one side, and I went on the other side of that rider. I wish we got to go on the same side, because I had to do a lot more work to catch up to that rider. And this I'm thinking, oh, it's a good pack. It's 3 riders. Maybe we can work together. But the other 2 didn't catch on, and all I'm thinking about is getting onto this wheel. It's the elf ears. First I wanted to follow the pink rider. Now I'm okay riding with the blue and white. So here again, the pitch. I use that pitch to kind of catch back on, and then unfortunately they surge again. Now I'm trying to just get back onto the wheel of the neon Zwift jersey. Fellow Canadian, I was hoping I could be the top Canadian. I usually look at the results and see whether or not I'm the top Canadian. I usually am not, but it's a mind trick. I don't know who's ahead. I don't know if they're Canadians or not. I can't see any Canadian flags, so I'm just following the wheels that I can and try to keep those people from winning. And then this guy goes by again. He seems to be surging like I was. So he surges and fades and surges and fades. Or that's what I was noticing. And at this point, I was thinking, oh, they're gonna fade a little bit. And we're coming up on another plateau right here where I had to make a decision. Do I want to close down that 3 seconds? It really is 5. But that's a lot of work. And at this point, I'm struggling. I look up 1.7 kilometers and I say, no, Just stay within yourself. You're 14th. That's right where you wanted to be. And all you need to do now is finish this. It's only 1.6k. Really, it's set 1.2 because there's a little bit of a descent into the finish line. So red gradients, I'm trying to do the 270s, and then on the regular gradients, I'm trying to stay in the 260s, 255. Doing as best I can, and I'm passing these riders, and I'm hoping I'm gonna get spots, but it looks like they were off in the other pens because none of my rank doesn't change. So right now I'm looking behind, seeing what my gap is, seeing what people are closing at, and managing that. This is now maintenance mode. I'm now telling myself 14th is mine. 13th is gone, but I'm not giving up 14. So I'm pushing. I'm doing as much or the same as the rider behind me. And when I see he spikes up, I think to myself, if he gets within 1 second, it's time for you to just make sure my power stays ahead of his the whole time. So he's 1 second, and then I surge, and then he surges, and then I'm saying to myself, you're not getting me. He's at 1 second. He's doing 4.3, 4.1. I just surge. I get up into the 300s. I keep my second, but then it goes down to 0, and I'm just anxious. And then I come across the line, and I held 14th. But we still have to get to the bottom of this descent before it's official. So here I push as hard as I can right to the line, and I keep the rider behind me from closing it out. So that is stage 4. Not as dramatic as stage 3 was with the iPad dying. Funny enough, after I finished this stage, I noticed that my battery drained to 55. So it takes 45%. Or Saturday's race, I guess that's tomorrow, we are going to have the Alp climb. So it's basically flat with a couple of sprints, I think 4 sprints, and then right into Alp to Zwift, which is Alp to Wez in real life. It's a number of switchbacks. There's some unique features up the climb on the left-hand side, how it breaks it down for you. So see you guys tomorrow on course. If you see me, send me a message. Peace.